just you and me forever.
Do you take this woman as your lawful wedded wife?
Ooh, yeah! Oh,
Place the ring on her finger and repeat after me. With this ring,
no. With this ring,
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
Hello and welcome to With This Ring, episode 35.
Wow.
I'm your co-host Ryan Everett,
I'm your co-host, Cindy Everett.
and this month we're going to continue our look at the GWWE list, and this month we are going over the career of Mick Foley.
Yes, and we did Mick Foley for WCW?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, because this is very different, I feel like.
Yeah.
The type of matches and the characters, obviously.
Right.
And, like, I know WCW had that strange, like, weird promo that didn't kind of have an ending to it.
Right, the Captain Jack.
Yes.
Captain
Yes,
Jack
yes,
lost
yes.
in Cleveland, yeah. Luckily, he was never lost in Cleveland
Yeah.
here.
Who's your favorite character? Your favorite Mick Foley character?
For matches, Cactus Jack, but like overall, probably Mankind.
Yeah, I'd say Doolittle.
Well, I'm a big
Favorite
fan of
Carol.
yeah, big fan of Dude Love, but yeah,
As a wrestler, I
yeah,
think I'd have to agree with the wrestler being Cactus Jack. I don't really care for his Mankind persona.
Well, yeah, we saw more of the early Mankind, like in '99 and 2000, or '99 really, '98, '99. He became more of like, it was really just Mick Foley, but with a mask on.
That's true.
It was more real, not real life, but more grounded kind of, like they talked about, they interchange between Mankind and Mick Foley
Gotcha.
during the match, and it's like kind of understood. It's not like when he first comes in and is wearing his,
100%
yeah.
I gotcha. That's true.
And we'll kind of talk about how that got to be a thing
Oh, okay.
as we go through the match. So the first match we watched was him versus Shawn Michaels.
Yep, 1996. He
Yep.
is Mankind.
Yes.
Is this the one where like Shawn Michaels like stomps him through the mat?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
gives him a drop. Mankind's pulling up the mats to do something and Shawn Michaels drop kicks him, and then
Right.
like just jumps on him
Yeah.
into the ground.
But yeah, no, but sorry, I kind of jumped right in there.
No, yeah.
Any context for this one?
It was
No?
it was kind of a weird thing where there wasn't too much of a build up to it,
Okay.
because this was like these in your houses were always kind of like the B pay-per-views, so it was kind of like just Shawn Michaels and his challenger of the month this month is blank. Here it's
Gotcha.
Mankind, before it was the British Bulldog.
And was this his like first match back in the WWE? Or
No, it was his first feud when he came in was with The Undertaker,
Oh, okay.
and he had beat him at SummerSlam in a Boiler Room Brawl match, where you fight in the Boiler Room.
Sounds.
And at the end of that match, Paul Bearer turned on The Undertaker,
Oh.
hit him with the urn, and sided with Mankind.
Oh, is that why Undertaker's like prowling around the
Yeah,
ring?
that's why.
Not Undertaker, Paul Bearer.
Yeah, so Paul Bearer is now Mankind's manager.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Paul Bearer's like waddling all around the ring.
Yep.
Doing this with an urn.
And Shawn Michaels has his trainer Jose Lothario there with him, the old
Obviously.
Mexican man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, lots of big moves. I feel like maybe it's those later Mick Foley matches wasn't really matches. It was just more like a brawl, more
Right.
like just getting like gratuitous violence, so to speak. So I feel like this is an actual like match.
Yeah.
But no, this also has shenanigans. You had Vader, and Sid Vicious, and then Undertaker
Then it comes out of the casket.
People lose their minds.
Yeah, it's the only. Yeah, I think for a while Mick Foley considered this his best match
Oh, really? Oh,
until
okay.
some matches we'll get to later.
All right.
But yeah, he thought this was a great match. He was like committed to making sure that he could go as long as Shawn Michaels wanted to go, which because Shawn Michaels was in peak
Right.
physical shape back in 1996, and
Right, that was before his
back
issues, yeah.
issues and it was probably already starting his
I was
pill
gonna say he was on
issues, but
painkillers already.
yeah, but not to the point where like he was passing out.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a great match. The only thing is kind of a wonky ending, but at the time they weren't going to give the belt to Mankind yet, but they didn't want him to lose because they had already announced that the next pay-per-view in your house was going to be him versus The Undertaker in a Buried Alive match.
Oh.
So you can't really have him lose going into that. So
Gotcha.
they just kind of split the difference, and it's really, it doesn't hurt the match, I don't think. The way they do it
yeah,
is good.
I mean, to me, I'm just like, okay, Undertaker's here, but people there lost it. So, interesting.
Yep. And then, so before our next match, we watched an interview.
That was a weird format.
Yes.
He's a good storyteller, but it was just like, oh, he liked pain, was awkward growing up.
Right.
It's strange.
Yeah, so the whole idea was, see, just before this, they did an interview with Goldust and Marlena,
Okay.
but they had them as Dustin Reynolds and Terry, like, so giving a back view on them. So that was one thing they did, and then after that, they figured we should do this. Like, it was a pretty big success. It
Okay.
got people talking, at least. Because he talked about, like...
Very soap opera.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because they talked about, like, how he had a falling out with his dad, so that kind of was a big thing. But, so then they did it with Mick Foley, and originally they were going to do it as just Mick Foley telling his story, but Mick Foley himself suggested that, what if we did it as Mankind, but he gives, like, the Mick Foley life story, like, the background on him.
Gotcha.
So, like, to keep the character growing, not just to make it two separate entities.
Tracks, yeah.
And in that talk, we hear about, like, this is the first time he's ever even mentioned his Dude Love.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they show clips of his 1983 home video as Dude Love.
That was like his OG character.
Right. So then, so basically that interview turns him face.
Okay.
Because, like, he had kind of been drifting apart from Paul Bearer. Like, Paul Bearer was with The Undertaker again, but trying to make The Undertaker do bad things. So Mankind was kind of, like, by his own, so then they decided to make him a face. So he's feuding with Triple H after the King of the Ring for a little bit, and then, since 1997 WWF, everything comes back to Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Yes.
So they had a real-life brawl backstage at Raw.
Oh, yeah.
And Shawn Michaels quits the WWF.
Yep.
And at the time, him and Steve Austin were the WWF Tag Champs. So they needed to figure out who's going to be the other tag champ. So they have a thing where Mankind starts petitioning to be Steve Austin's partner.
Oh, okay.
And there's a tournament, and the winner of the tournament will face Steve Austin and a partner of his choosing for the tag belts. So, of course, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, who were the tag champs before, win the tournament because they're the only tag team that it would make sense to face.
Yeah.
And the week before, Austin stunned Mankind for, like, the third week in a row.
Oh,
and Mankind promised that promised the next week that he wouldn't want to do that. Next week, someone would come and make Steve Austin regret what he did.
Gotcha.
So then the next week is the match we saw.
Okay. Yeah. So Steve Austin started. There's no partner.
Right.
So there was a little bit of, I mean, I kind of, who we're reviewing.
Right.
I think I figured out who it was going to be. But I didn't know it was going to be Dude Love.
Yes.
But then they come back and they pretty much win right away.
Yeah, it's not much of a...
Short,
yeah, I mean, the first half of it with Steve Austin wrestling a handicap match is pretty good, actually.
It is, yeah.
And then,
Steve Austin's just...
Yeah, 1997 Steve Austin was pretty much doesn't have bad matches.
Right, yeah.
And Owen Hart and the Hart Foundation was on fire at this time, so...
Yeah.
It's the main feud in the company, so it should be pretty well heated. But then, right before the commercial, we see some white boots dancing.
Yeah.
And there's, and beyond the mat, which we'll talk about even more in a little bit, but there's video backstage of Vince McMahon trying to teach Dude Love how to strut.
So, really?
Yes, it's quite the thing to see both of them horribly fail at strutting. And then...
I'm good.
Okay. And then our next... So the match happens, and like you said, it's pretty... Dude Love comes in, and like right away, they win the belts. But Steve Austin kind of even accepts him. He gives him the belt and shakes his hand.
This is all right. You're a weirdo, but we'll take it. So then we move up to 1997. Still 97.
Yes.
Same year. So they started feuding with Triple H.
Yeah, he had kind of been feuding with him off and on also. Like,
Did Triple H start as a heel then?
Yeah, Triple H was a heel. Like, he first came in, he was this aristocrat.
That's right. Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Right. But this time he was slowly morphing into actually Triple H.
Gotcha.
But, so he won...
They should bring him back full circle to be an aristocrat. Now he's literally...
an aristocrat from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Literally owns the company.
Yes.
He's an aristocrat, but that's for a different discussion. It's for a different episode. But...
So they're having her on Madison Square Garden, and they had fought at a SummerSlam in a cage match, which Mankind won. They had other matches, and it was kind of split. China was usually like the deciding factor.
Yeah.
So then they set up a match at Madison Square Garden for Raw. And it was going to be Dude Love versus Triple H in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Oh, okay.
But Dude Love had different plans. He offers the match to Mankind.
That's right.
And then Mankind says he'd love it. He'd love to do horrible things with Triple H. But he knows one person that would love it even more.
Oh, yeah.
And Cactus Jack finally appears in the WWF.
Oh, so this is the first time in the WWF?
Yes.
Before he was just
Mankind or Dude Love.
Gotcha. Yeah, he had kind of the promo with himself, and he had all sorts of props. This kind of is like the start of like the kind of like gratuitous swing into the more brawls, not actual like matches.
Right.
Trash can. I said puts Triple H through a very flimsy table.
Yeah, the table at the end was
like
not well thought out.
Yeah.
Before they got into their standard fake tables.
Do they have special tables made?
Yeah. Where it like breaks a lot easier.
I know, but I was curious like what company has to do like a special
It's
line.
probably them.
WWE make their own tables?
Yeah, I mean they have like a prop guy, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just making probably tables out of like particle board.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, like IKEA furniture tables.
Like that's what this is, but it wasn't like finished or like it made it look like it was, and it does like totally explode when there is the pile driver at the end.
Well, I guess it makes for a good visual effect.
Yeah.
So, but yes, this kind of further cements him as the guy, or one of the guys. I feel like
one of the guys. And
1997, Steve Austin was the guy.
Yeah.
And The Rock was like another.
The Rock was rising, but Mick Foley was rising. Mick Foley was at a higher point than The Rock at this point.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, they kind of flip eventually, but at this point, I would say
it's true.
It was like Undertaker and Steve Austin, and then probably Mick Foley right below them as far as faces. And then for the next couple of months, actually up until like February, he kind of switches between the three faces, like depending on who he's facing.
Interesting.
And actually at the Royal Rumble, he's the number 1 entrant as Cactus Jack.
Oh.
Like the number 14 entrant as Mankind, and number 27 is Dude Love.
How long was he as Dude Love?
He lasts till the final 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's altogether it's not that long, but it's still being out 3 different times is.
Yeah.
I mean, and he like different boots each time, different.
Yeah,
it's a whole change that he's got to do. So let's see.
He took a lot of big bumps in those matches. The Rumble too.
Dude Love is 7 minutes. Mankind was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That was kind of quick. And then Cactus Jack was 9 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like it was in the long, like, The Rock was in 51 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's still, a lot. It's still, even though he wasn't in that long, it's like a notable
it's a good
appearance by
him.
him.
For sure. Nice. And then we talked 1998 versus Terry Funk.
Yes, and this is one of the very few, until after his retirement, where it's actually Mick Foley.
Yeah, this is kind of strange. He's like, I don't like my characters, and they're like shameless, and does that promo with Vince McMahon and Steve Austin. So
right. So this was... So after WrestleMania, him and Terry Funk lost the tag titles that they had won the night before back to the Outlaws.
Okay, obviously.
And as they were, like, they get a huge beatdown, and as the medics are, like, getting them prepared, the announcer comes over and says that Steve Austin, who was arrested earlier in the night, is being released from prison and will arrive at the arena like after the show is over.
Oh, jeez.
So the next week, Mick Foley Cactus Jack cuts a promo talking about like how for the first 2 years in the WWF, everyone just wanted him to be Cactus Jack. And when he was Cactus Jack, they were chanting for Steve Austin instead. And then the next week, it's Vince McMahon versus Steve Austin on Raw. And Dude Love comes out. And at first, it looks like he's going to go after Vince McMahon, but then he attacks Steve Austin. So it's revealed that Dude Love is Vince McMahon's hand-chosen opponent.
There we go. Yeah, they kind of... Okay, that makes sense now.
Yes. So then,
So how did Terry Funk get back into this?
Well, so Terry Funk had just been around, like...
He's allowed to come back whenever.
Yeah, he was...
Those open door policies.
Because he had been tag partners with Cactus Jack, and then when Cactus Jack left, he just kind of stayed around, just kind of futzing around with anyone. And then they had this match set up where it was going to be him versus... It was really more Vince McMahon's doing, just to kind of crush Mick Foley's soul.
Gotcha.
And yeah, they have a crazy brawl all around throughout the arena.
Yeah. So he faces himself. Yeah, there's chairs and blood, and then I don't know. It ends up being more about Steve Austin.
Well, yeah, it's definitely setting up the next Mick Foley versus Steve Austin match.
Right. So they go over to the stands. I mean, yeah, Terry Funk's kind of old.
Yeah.
So
he does kind of moonsault though off the.
He does. That is true.
The stage.
That is true.
Which is pretty wild. And to Mick Foley and like 3 hot dog vendors that are all obviously
quote, yeah.
independent wrestlers from the area.
Definitely. It goes into the stands. It kind of gets hard to watch for a little bit.
Yeah, the camera has to run up and get them backstage.
Oh yeah, and it goes to the concourse.
Yeah.
It pretty much ends right after that.
Yeah, back in the ring. Yeah, and Mick Foley had a nasty cut like on the top of his head.
That's right.
So you just like randomly see globs of blood like on Terry Funk's hands and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of blood. So
right.
Later matches were a little much. So then Mick Foley wins, but then Steve Austin kind of steals the show.
Right, but then he goes up to the ramp and dances with Vince McMahon after saying he'd never dance with some second-rate strippers again.
Yep, goes right back to it.
Yep.
Shocker.
So then after that it's Dude Love versus Steve Austin at the Over the Edge match, which we watched before, with Vince McMahon as the ref.
Oh yeah.
The Undertaker gets involved.
Oh yeah.
Chokeslams Pat Patterson through a table.
Right.
And then after that, the next month is the Hell in a Cell match, which we also watched, and where he gets thrown off.
Oh yeah,
the cage and then through the cage. Yeah, the match.
The match, the magic table.
Yes. That's how he did it. Magic table.
Right. Yeah. That's a good story. Are we going to talk about Mick Foley's stand-up comedy?
I think we did.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
Is he still touring now? Is that
every once in a while he's kind of got a tour going?
Why not?
Yeah, it's kind of like, what else am I going to be doing?
Yeah. Well, I understand the past couple of years. I mean, not traveling.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, he's picked that back up, but I don't know. I think he usually stops around November because then he's got to become Santa Claus.
All right. Well, maybe he comes. He did like a show like in the suburbs, right?
Yeah, he's done Zanies a few times, right. I think.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll keep an eye out for that one.
And then after that, so after the Hell in the Cell match, they kind of decide to scale back a little bit because they don't want him dying.
Yeah.
So he's teaming with Kane, and then Kane turns on him.
Kane's awful.
Yeah. I mean, wrestler or person, take your pick.
Yeah.
And then eventually, though, he's feuding to become the number 1 contender, and they have a triple threat match of Mankind versus Ken Shamrock versus The Rock.
That's right, yeah.
And during the match they have on Raw, Undertaker and Kane come out, and they're fair, so then the next week at the pay-per-view, they have it inside a cage match.
And this is the one where the cage, is locked?
Yes. Well, it's closed. You could ask the referee to open the door, though.
That's right.
And it's pinfall or escape.
That's right, yeah.
And
there's slightly different rules in these cages. Some have top, some don't.
Yeah, it depends on what purpose you need it to serve.
True.
So this is like the start of The Rock being just like ridiculously popular. Like he comes out, and I don't think they were ready for him to be this over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, he was.
He was, yes.
Loved it. He did a doubles people
Yes,
elbow.
the double people elbow. I remember like that being talked about the next day at school. That was the most important part. Yeah. The Rock hit a double people's elbow.
Oh, wow.
2 elbow pads.
I was going to say, it's really not the most difficult or technical move. Just kind of like flails all his limbs about.
Yeah.
But
and then...
obviously, the big talk at St. Pete the next day.
Yeah, of course it was. So then Mick Foley...
I don't know about Clegg at middle school. Maybe people were talking about it, but not me.
Not you?
No.
He does a dive off the top of the cage.
Yeah, I wrote that. He jumped off the top. And then the chair like appeared in the ring somehow.
Yeah, it's kind of... I think someone just happened to grab it when they opened the door, but then the door had to be closed with the chair in the ring.
Yeah, I said The Rock covers Ken Shamrock before Mankind gets out of the ring.
Yeah, so Mankind waffles Ken Shamrock with a chair shot.
That's right.
And then kind of going back to like his days growing up, it was always escape the cage rules.
Yeah.
So he starts to climb over, and as he's like right before he gets to the end, The Rock just covers Ken Shamrock for the win.
It's a kind of a lame ending.
Yeah, but it kind of set up that, The Rock's smarter than
Mankind.
Crazy Mankind and Rage Monster Ken Shamrock, so he played it cool and
worked it out for him. Well, yeah. Do you think this from The Rock surpasses?
Yeah, I would say it's right here that The Rock is the number 2 guy in the company behind Steve Austin.
Gotcha.
And then after this, now Mankind at this point is still trying to impress Mr. McMahon.
Okay.
And then eventually going into Survivor Series, there's going to be a tournament for the world title.
Okay.
And Vince McMahon has accepted Mankind as his new son.
Weird.
Since Shane turned on Vince.
Okay, well, yes.
So, in the tournament finals, it's The Rock who is, like, kind of been feuding with Vince McMahon all of a sudden because Vince McMahon hates the people, and The Rock is the people's champion.
Okay. I mean, they go back and forth between, like, they'd be like The Rock's, like, I think Vince McMahon and The Rock are usually best friends.
Yeah, well, yeah, that comes out later. So, during the match... It being a year after Survivor Series 1997 with the Montreal Screwjob, The Rock puts Mankind in a sharpshooter, and right away Vince McMahon rings the bell and reveals that he was with The Rock the whole time.
Oh.
And The Rock is the corporate champ. So then The Rock and Mankind start a feud. And they have a pay-per-view match in December that Mankind wins by the Mandible Claw, but Vince McMahon says since he didn't make The Rock say I quit or get pinned, it doesn't count.
Oh, jeez.
So then we go to the January 4th Raw, which was actually taped a week before.
Okay.
On Tuesday. We'll get to that.
Okay. Sounds like an important detail.
It gets very important in like the Mick Foley story.
Interesting. All right.
And it's Triple H versus Mankind with the winner getting a Royal Rumble spot.
Oh, okay.
And Shane McMahon is the guest referee, and Triple H was a good guy at this point. Like, he's with Mankind later.
Gotcha.
And helps him. But in this, he gets the win by Shane McMahon, skullduggery. And he says, I don't want to accept this, but I want to go to the Royal Rumble. So he pedigrees Shane McMahon.
Nice.
And that allows Mick Foley to kind of wrap him up in a different submission maneuver and demand a match against The Rock, which Vince McMahon grants him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Then he's like, Shane's like whining and crying.
He's breaking my arm.
Yeah. Jeez.
So we get that match. And it is, like I said, it was a Raw main event on a taped Raw. And they kind of already said at the Royal Rumble it's going to be The Rock versus Mankind.
Okay.
So just watching that, you're expecting, okay, well, it's going to be a schmaz finish and nothing's really going to happen. But they did something different.
Okay.
What happened during this match? What do you have for
bajillion people came out.
Yes. Well, the corporation, which is The Rock's crew with Vince, and then D-Generation X had started piling up with Mankind. So they were there for them.
Well, first, this is the stairs starting to get used a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're already used in a couple other matches, but this is the first.
Yeah, the Rock really likes throwing.
Yeah.
Well, the stairs at Mick Foley.
Yeah. Yeah, Mick Foley gets the head. Oh, they both get on the headset. That was funny.
Yes.
I liked that.
Separate interviews.
Yeah, and then basically a ton of people come out, and then Steve Austin music comes out, hits, and he comes out, and then Mick Foley wins.
Yeah, and the Steve Austin pop is like the largest pop
people
in history.
Nuts. Yeah.
And this was, I mean, it had been going for like 3 weeks, so it wasn't like
not a huge amount of time.
Super long, and they were talking about him, storylines and stuff, so it wasn't like. But he comes out, and people went crazy, and I think it's kind of also because people were like, well, this might actually end the match. Like, they're not just going to break out Steve Austin for no reason.
Right.
So he does. Mick Foley ends up winning.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole thing about this, the reason it became more than just a regular title change, the big match on Nitro at the time was going to be Goldberg versus Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Because at Starrcade, their big show, Kevin Nash beat Goldberg for the first time.
Okay.
Because Scott Hall used a cattle prod on Goldberg.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Not very good.
Well, that's the only way you could beat him.
Well, WCW is really gonna.
So they had built up this huge Nitro 2 weeks later. They were going to have the rematch. It was in the Atlanta Dome. And it was like 40,000 people. It was going to be like their biggest Nitro ever. And then, like, in the first hour of Nitro, as they're going to break, they're like, and if you're tempted to change that channel, don't. We heard Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here as Cactus Jack, he's going to win their world title. Yeah, they'll put some butts in the seats.
Oh, no.
So, poor Tony Schiavone said that. Obviously directed by Eric Bischoff.
Right.
It wasn't Mr. Schiavone's
call. Off, yeah.
But after they said that, the ratings, like, took a total turn, and, like, everyone turned to Raw to watch.
Oh, WCW, they cannot figure it out.
Yeah, so if they had just, like, let it play out, because they had actually, WWF had even kind of, like, they said after it was taped on their website, like, Mick Foley wins the belt.
Oh, really?
So, like, people knew it was going to happen.
Why'd they do it that way?
Basically to kind of prevent WCW from doing that, but it didn't matter, I guess. Like, because I remember, like, back then, it was like you switched back and forth.
Oh,
like,
okay.
every commercial break. Okay,
This one's going better.
Steve Austin's coming up now, and it's just the luchadors on Nitro. Well, I'm going to watch Austin. But then it's,
interesting.
you know, Farouk and Bradshaw versus two guys in Hulk Hogan's on Nitro. I'm going to cut, you know.
Right.
And then the Nitro match ends up being horrible. It ends up being Hulk Hogan versus Kevin Nash. And
what happened to Goldberg?
He was arrested for, well, originally they wanted to call it rape.
Oh.
But then they just called stalking and intimidation of Miss Elizabeth.
Oh.
Which is what, like, the NWO had set up.
God.
They were framing him. And it's Kevin Nash, or Hulk Hogan comes out and pokes Kevin Nash, and he falls to the ground, gets pinned, and they give the belt back to Hulk Hogan.
Boo.
Yeah.
Well, I would have rather watched the Raw one.
Yes.
Well, the next one we also do is The Rock versus.
Yeah, so we keep with the same feud. So they had 2 matches in between this. They had,
the Super Bowl one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first was the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
And that's an I Quit match. And that is like one of those matches that it's not really fun to watch anymore. Because the idea was The Rock was going to hit him with like 3 chair shots while he was handcuffed. He ends up doing like 15 because like Mankind kept turning his back, and The Rock thought that meant like give me another one, not like just give me the last shot. So they kind of, and then the ending plays out the way it was supposed to, but probably a little later than it should have, where it's just a tape recording of Mankind saying I quit to end the match. But then Mankind realizes that was a tape because he didn't say it, and gets the halftime heat empty arena match, which we watched for The Rock.
We did. That was very entertaining.
Yes.
That was just a different type of performance art.
Yeah, that's definitely
its own
different than these matches.
Yeah. Well, it was just strange to know the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. It's
like a different class.
Right. It's a different setting altogether.
Yeah. but good for them being able to like work with it.
Yeah.
It's like improv essentially.
Right. Yeah. Especially with not having anything like knowing how it's working out because the crowd is not reacting.
Right. Yeah. But then this one was like a weird lead-in. He was training with
yes,
like an Italian guy in the Iron Sheik.
So it's set up that their next match will be at Valentine's Day Massacre.
Okay.
And on Heat, Mick Foley's old trainer Dominic DiNucci shows up to help train Mick.
Obviously.
And he brings he was an old wrestler in like the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
So he brings two other old wrestlers from the 70s and 80s.
Bob Backlund.
Iron Sheik and Bob Backlund, who are both literally insane now.
Really?
Yes. Like, then they were even.
Yeah, Bob Backlund's always been a little...
Yeah, and well, the Iron
different.
Sheik is known for yelling that he wants to make people humble the old school way. And,
okay. Doesn't say no more.
Yeah. So, it's set up that, first the Iron Sheik's showing him the Persian clubs.
That's right.
And Mick Foley's like, well, can I just hit him? And he's like, exactly. And then he has to run the stairs like Bob Backlund.
Oh, yeah.
And while he does that, The Rock comes up and blasts him in the knee with
a pallet.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's a last man standing match. So if his legs hurt, he can't stand.
Yeah.
So, The Rock versus Mankind, the second time in this setting, what did you... or in this set, I should say.
Out of the ring.
Yep.
Foley puts Rock through a table. Then Mike hits the flying elbow. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
The announcer's table. Very physical match, of course. Not a lot of sequences. That's the thing. It's not like a really long run of mitt.
Yeah, especially with like a last man standing match. I think that's always a problem in it. Like you got to stop after any kind of big moment to see it to get the count. That's it's not my favorite match type.
Yeah,
it's kind of too herky. It's really herky jerky.
Yeah, it's hard to have a good flow.
Yeah,
these types of
exactly.
Matches. Yeah, then Rock just goes the stairs again. Oh, and then The Rock starts singing Elvis, which is
yes,
pretty funny.
Because it's in Memphis.
Yeah, but that's when Mick Foley gets his mandible claw on him. Oh, and this I actually wrote this at the end of this one. Boo.
Yes.
Because they hit each other with chairs and they both get counted out.
Yes.
People are not happy.
Yeah, the fans are not.
People are not happy
about that. They give quite the bullshit chant, I believe.
Yeah.
Breaks out.
Well, I don't blame them.
Yep.
I'd be pissed too.
But like I said, they get what they come for in the next match, where it's Steve Austin killing Vince McMahon inside a steel cage.
That's right. That's
and
pretty good.
Big Show makes his WWF debut
okay.
through the ring.
Through the ring?
Like it's a cage match.
Yeah.
So he comes through the bottom of the ring, busts up, and pulls up Steve Austin and throws him into the cage, but the cage breaks. So Steve Austin wins, but the Big Show looks like a killer.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, he's kind of a big dopey guy.
Yeah, that kind of his effectiveness kind of ended right then and there.
Yeah. That was he already had his cinema role in Jingle All the Way too.
Right, and he had already. I mean, he was living on borrowed time already because he had been thrown off a roof of Cobo Hall while sumo wrestling with monster trucks. So.
Oh, that's right.
Anything past 1995 is really gravy for him.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah.
All right.
Move up into
Yeah.
So then he
Actually,
retires, or what's?
Well, no. First, we'll take a quick break.
Okay.
Oh boy! If you smell,
Come on! The WWF champion! The Rock is going to join the caucus! Oh my God! The WWF champion, I sure would love to know who his number one contender is or is going to be! Man! The Summer crowd please.
Mick Foley, after all the history that you and The Rock have been through, after all the cage matches, the ladder matches, I quit matches, last man standing matches, The Rock says, welcome back.
What? Welcome back. All right. Oh, please. A lot of respect between those two men, King. Where's the faction when you need it?
Thank you, Rock. And let me congratulate you now, 5-time WWF champion.
And he's only 28 years of age. This is getting a little sickening. The Mutual Admiration Society.
Not only that, but I've got to say, Rock, that has got to put you right up there in the elite list of the greatest WWF champions of all time.
Oh, boy. I think I'm getting sugar diabetes.
And I want to know one thing. How does that make you feel?
What do you think?
Well, The Rock. It doesn't matter how it makes you feel.
You think that happens in the White House?
All right, and we're back. So, 1999, he ends up getting injured in like May. Not injured, he needed knee surgery.
Well, yeah.
He was getting pretty rough.
Yeah.
And even after he comes back, it's not...
Knee surgery, not like concussion protocol?
No, that comes... I mean, that's probably always going on, but not in 1998. It's not as...
It's not a thing yet, really.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you had a concussion. Okay, well, you'll get Raw off tomorrow. We need you to come to Raw for interviews, but you won't wrestle.
Jeez. Yeah.
So like Survivor Series 99, he actually talked to Vince McMahon and said, like, I'm starting to have trouble, like, remembering where I live when I'm driving home. And so Vince McMahon, and Mick Foley's always said this, like, say what you will about Vince McMahon, but that day he cared about Mick Foley.
That's
like,
great.
he said, you're retired. You just had your last match. And Mick Foley was kind of like, well, wait a second. I don't want my retirement to be a crappy me and Al Snow against the New Age Outlaws match. You know, I want to build it up. So they like kind of gave him some time off. Or like he was on TV, but not really wrestling, kind of letting him build up his stamina to get good matches back. And then, as we talked about, we watched the Royal Rumble match, him versus Triple H at a street fight at Madison Square Garden for the Rumble.
Yeah.
The street fight. Yeah, that's like
once
one
again, all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place, but like one of those classic matches. And then following up that, they decided to have one more match at No Way Out, and it's guaranteed that if Mick Foley wins, he'll be in the main event at WrestleMania. Like they're not going to do, okay, you won, but now you got to defend the belt the next night.
Gotcha.
Against Mick Foley's career.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this was like his like. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Why you lost now?
Yep.
Gotcha. But I actually it's kind of funny. So I wrote that like I guess they can't go over the arena since they're in a cage.
Right.
But I was wrong.
They do because Mick Foley had promised that he was going to climb to the top of the cage and jump off through the table, but this time it would be through Triple H.
That's right. Yeah.
So like right away the match starts, he rolls out of the ring right away, but since Triple H was in charge, he had like 8 locks put on the door.
Yeah, but the cage basically like pops open on the side.
Yeah, on the side when he throws the stairs and misses, but finds a way out. No Way Out.
Got it. Yeah, stairs get through. There's a nice slingshot by Mick Foley. Then I said, how do they get out of the cell? And puts him to the announcer's table. Then he gets, is this the first appearance of the barbed wire wrapped around the table?
No, they used it at the Royal Rumble.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's still very early in its...
It was a little heavy-handed in these other matches, but they climb to the top. Yeah, then they get pushed off, and the barbed wire's on fire.
Yep, Mick Foley lights it on fire because of course Jerry Lawler says, what could be worse than a 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire as Mick Foley's lighting it on fire?
Also, he really wanted to go out with a bang.
Yes.
Just pulling out all the stops. And then Triple H like does a backdrop, but like there's clearly like a trap door. So that cage opens up. And they fall through. But I guess
through the ring.
Right, through the ring, that's right. Yeah, also a very strategically placed hole, and then Triple H wins.
Yes.
But I guess, if there's a way you want to go out, I guess that's the way to do it.
Yep. And this was the Royal Rumble especially, but this also, like, it was just, like, do everything to make Triple H a huge star.
Gotcha.
Like the main heel of the company.
Yeah.
Which he was, for sure.
Yeah, he did a good job accomplishing that.
Yep. And then, unfortunately, he comes back 3 weeks later and is in the WrestleMania 2000 main event, a 4-way match.
Mick Foley?
Mick Foley.
I thought he was retiring.
Yeah, well...
I thought this match was supposed to end his career.
Well, it's Triple H versus The Rock versus The Big Show versus Mick Foley. The real reason, though, is because there's a McMahon in every corner.
Oh.
So it's more about the McMahons than the actual guys.
Is it Linda, Vince?
Vince is with The Rock.
Okay.
Like, is good guy.
Okay.
Vince. Triple H is with Stephanie, obviously.
Yep.
The Big Show is with Shane McMahon, who decided that the Big Show is going to be like the dominant force. And then Linda brings back Mick Foley because he should be able to live out his dream.
Of going to WrestleMania?
Yeah.
He's already in WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, main event.
Okay, whatever.
So that match happens. It's not very good. It's very long. Mick Foley whiffs on his big move, he tries to do the elbow from the apron to the ring again, but it comes up a bit short. Breaks 2 ribs.
Ooh.
But he did get to go to Disneyland the next day with his kids, so that's something. Anaheim.
Oh, so
Disneyland.
Okay, gotcha.
And then after that, though, he does really retire.
For real this time?
For real. He becomes a commissioner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I watched some of those promos.
Yes.
Those cheap pops.
Get the cheap pops. A lot of work with Edge Christian and Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that was that was the strange.
The segment was, but they had a bunch of...
Were they good at the time? Like,
the promos they had were good,
yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, they were all, edited together in that
that was kind of
odd. We watched was kind of strange. A little too self-referential.
they are they say the promo, then they show the promo.
Yeah. Oh well.
So he does retire though so he's the commissioner for about 6 months, and then he kind of takes some time off. He leaves. He comes back in 2003, and he's a guest referee in a Triple H versus Kevin Nash Hell in a Cell match, where he ends up taking most of the bumps.
Of course. Well, yeah.
Yeah, because he's Mick Foley.
Yeah.
And then the next night, they have a celebration for Mick Foley where they give him the original hardcore title at Madison Square Garden. And then at the end, Randy Orton attacks him and kicks him down the stairs.
Oh, that's right. You're old.
Yeah.
Up.
And then that starts their feud. And then they have the tag match at WrestleMania 20 that we watched for The Rock. It's the Rock and Sock Connection.
Oh, yeah.
Versus Evolution, which Randy Orton wins clean.
That's true.
And that built up to this one-on-one match.
Gotcha.
Where it's no holds barred, Evolution banned from ringside, and the Intercontinental title is on the line, which Mick Foley never held.
I was going to say, how was the title on the line?
Well, Randy Orton is the champ.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, no, this one is just out of wrestling and just gratuitous violence category.
Yeah, this is quite the brawl.
There's, everything, right? There's they both have the barbed wire clubs. There's headshots to the trash can, a lot of blood, and then
thumbtacks.
Yeah,
and this is...
Is that the first time those were used in WWE?
It was the first time anyone other than Mick Foley went into them.
Oh,
that was the shocking part. Okay, there's thumbtacks. Of course, Mick Foley's gonna go into them, but no, Randy Orton.
Yeah, that looked awful.
Stands up for him, he gives it his go.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he's really stuck full of them. And then Mick Foley wants to set Barbara on fire.
Right.
Eric Bischoff comes out and
puts the kibosh on
Says
there. This is the
no.
fire marshal will ruin them. Will end the show. Maybe because it's in Canada.
Oh, really?
Maybe the fire marshal has a different code there because, as we see in our
in
match before and the match we have after this,
that's true.
The fire is used. So
yeah,
maybe Canadian laws are different.
Or who knows?
Yeah, or they just needed a way to not use fire.
True. And I don't know, that just kind of gets repetitive. It's like they get body
Yeah.
slammed with a barbed wire. There's like thumbtacks. It's just like
They do have the crazy running elbow off the stage though.
Oh, that's true.
Where Randy Orton is just getting killed. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Then Orton gets put through a table, and then I guess my last note was that was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Which I agree with.
And it ends with a RKO onto the barbed wire bat.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, Randy Orton wins.
Right.
So it's just just a lot.
And the thing with this match is
it's
like
extra, as the kids say.
It is extra. I think they wanted Orton to look
extra.
Huh?
Are they going for extra?
They wanted Orton to become like a main eventer out of this, but I think the problem that they did was because he took such a shit kicking that people like respected him. So he ends up like becoming a guy who they had to turn face a little too early. Like, I think they probably wanted... Because for a while, it seemed like the plan was going to be Triple H versus Orton at the next year's WrestleMania. They end up doing it at SummerSlam. And then the Orton babyface push is just real bad. And it ends up being Batista who, like, steps in as the face.
Gotcha.
And it works a lot better that way. Because they do it organically instead of Orton, like, oh, he's starting to get a babyface pop. We got to drop everything and make him the biggest babyface, which whenever they do that, it usually doesn't work.
Gotcha.
See Roman Reigns, see John Cena.
Yeah. Just let it happen.
Yep.
Run its course or whatever.
And like on this show, I think right after the match, they had the John Cena commercial.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when John Cena was like getting over huge because he was
a rapper.
He was a rapper and he was like doing it himself though. Like,
gotcha.
And then like a year later when they give him the title, he's like stops doing that. It just becomes like...
That's the Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, don't know what they really had him... He like doesn't have a character all of a sudden then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just Smiling John Cena, which didn't work out too well.
No.
And then after this... So he goes away... I'm trying to think, like 05, what does he do? So he just kind of like pops in here and there, you know,
does whatever.
Random Legends shows. And then he's a referee in a John Cena Edge match, which the first match had controversy, like the ref didn't. Edge's foot was under the rope or something.
Oh, okay.
Some reason for a rematch.
Gotcha.
And Mick Foley's the ref, and Edge thinks that he screwed. That Mick Foley screwed Edge during the match, which he really didn't. But
had to get mad at him for some reason.
Yeah, so they end up setting up a match at WrestleMania 22.
And you were there.
I was there, my first WrestleMania.
Aww.
Quite the barn burner to see.
Yeah.
And
little fire there too.
Yep. So
where was it again? Allstate?
The Allstate.
Allstate, yeah. Very nice. Who'd you go with?
Matt. Yep. We had a good time. It was quite the show. I think it's kind of one of those like if you're looking at all the WrestleManias, it's not one that like jumps out at you, but actually everything on the card is pretty well timed, and nothing takes too long. Like this is a 14-minute match. It's not like where the other one I think was 24 minutes. Him versus Orton, so it's a little quicker.
A while. But it's like pretty much the same like beats though.
Yeah,
no
it's
rules.
similar to
There's
it.
road signs. That's just kind of strange.
That's kind of like more of the early 2000s, like where everything's a weapon hardcore match.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I said this kind of reminds me of the 2004 match. There's the barbed wire. There's the thumbtacks.
Edge takes the bump into the thumbtacks, and
there's
Lita takes a mandible claw wrapped with barbed wire.
That's right.
Which is something.
Ugh, yeah.
And I really like the spot at the beginning where Edge hits the spare, and Mick Foley comes off and pulls off his first flannel to reveal that he was wrapped in barbed wire.
Obviously.
And Edge does like, I think he probably just gave himself a little cut on his shoulder to make it seem like the barbed wire had cut through him.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was weird. Because I remember when I came out, I made a comment, like, he looks like wider than usual.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was because he had
and even
barbed wire around
Joey Styles, the announcer, points out how he's wearing the green and blue flannel, which is unusual. Usually it's the red and blue.
Oh, I gotcha.
So wink, wink. There's shenanigans are afoot.
The flannels. Yeah, and then there's fire, and then he goes through the table gets lit up. Lita lights the table on fire, and then Edge puts Mick Foley through it.
Yes.
It's very impressive. So Edge wins, but once again, it seems both those matches, he's just serving a larger purpose.
Right, yeah. I mean, Mick Foley is a guy that, I mean, when he was a regular guy in the company, he basically always lost big matches. So, especially if he's coming out of retirement, he's just going to do it to put a guy
But people
over.
are here for it.
Yeah. And then...
He's crazy.
So this is his last... Actually, he has another match later this year. Actually, there's a couple. First he teams with Edge and Lita against Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk.
Terry Funk's still around?
Oh, yeah. And then he has a weird feud with Ric Flair where he thought it was going to be a lot more artistic than it was, and like had grand plans of what it was going to mean, and it didn't really pan out that way.
Of course.
And then 2008, he becomes an announcer actually for SmackDown,
Huh.
and he was really good at it, but he did not like Vince McMahon yelling in his ear all the time, so he quit after like 4 months.
Yeah.
So maybe he could get back into that now. I don't know if
True.
they have a opening, but
what's Vince McMahon yelling at the announcers for all the time?
He was always doing it to, especially Michael Cole, and then Mick Foley was with Michael Cole on SmackDown, like yelling at them what to say, what like stories they should be trying to get over.
Gotcha. Like
stuff.
Micromanaging.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And he wasn't doing that like in, the Attitude Era in 98, 99, which is JR and the King were able to just tell the story themselves. Right. Where I guess he lost confidence in people, but...
Interesting.
Yeah. So then he goes to TN. He quits WWF. He doesn't want to be yelled at by Vince McMahon anymore. Yeah. Ends up going... He goes to TNA for like 3 years, and he wrestles a lot there, which is probably not a great idea. Yeah. And then he comes back. He's actually in the Royal Rumble in 2012. Really? It features a Sacco versus Santino Marella Snake face-off where they both lock hands.
On their hands?
Yes.
I vaguely remember watching
it's like a comedy spot for him. And he's out. And then eventually they were planning on, at SummerSlam 2012, they were kind of gearing up for it to be him versus Dean Ambrose. Ooh. And like Dean Ambrose, this was like before he had come up with the Shield and stuff. So this was going to be his debut, and they kind of like did like a little shoot thing where like Dean Ambrose like badmouthed Foley and his family at the hotel at WrestleMania earlier in the year. Obviously. And like Mick Foley went on Twitter or whatever and was like, I'm not going to work with such a disrespectful ingrate. And then right before they had the match, though, he went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, you could never wrestle again. Because like another concussion could kill you, basically. So since then, he's not wrestled. He's still made his appearance. He was actually a GM for Raw for a while.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
He had the very nice-looking suit coat that was flannel style, which I was always a fan of. But yeah, eventually, I mean, and he's still every once in a great while appears, but it's kind of how he ended.
Yeah. He's still these news are problematic.
No, he's all. I mean, his only problematic thing was like, especially like 98, 99, like shows like 2020 would have like, backyard wrestling is the new hip craze, and they all look at Mick Foley as their, the patron saint, because he jumped off a roof and got a job out of it. Where it's like, well, okay, that's skipping the 15 years he wrestled around the world.
Yeah, seriously, when he would like spend like every weekend like driving out to wrestle.
And like I mean, they don't mention that part because that's not interesting, right? So that was like kind of where he. I mean, it wasn't really controversial because of him, but the only thing that kind of worked against him.
Bad press.
Yes. So he actually ended up saying that he thinks the Orton match was actually his best WWE match. But I think that book I think came out before the Edge match, so I'm not sure where it ranks. Because I actually like the Edge match the most, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all the ones we watched?
All the ones we watched this time, yes. I still think his Dude Love vs. Steve Austin is the best Mick Foley match, but All right, so now we got to go through our rankings.
Okay.
So N is nuance. Again, this is like longevity, flexibility, heel, face, tag team, singles.
Let's give him a 9.
Yeah.
He does it all.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Yeah.
All his characters.
Yeah, I'd give him a 9. I was going to say longevity kind of dings him because really he's only there 4 years full time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But he's such a good heel. He's such a good face. Like, everything else I think makes up for it. And 4 years in the Attitude Era is still kind of... It's 4 years, but 4 of the biggest years of the company. So
that's true.
And he's a big part of it.
It was more of like the attitude, not necessarily the actual
right.
wrestling. Which his kind of style lent himself to.
So J is jump up. So that means like big time moments.
Oh. Maybe 9.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking 10 because like the Hell in a Cell match alone.
Right, that's
is huge.
Iconic.
The title win on Raw is historic. P is promos.
You might move up to a 10 too.
Oh, sorry.
I think promo's got to do 9.5. He's obviously one of the more eloquent, definitely better speakers.
Yeah, I will actually give him a 9 just because, like the stuff we watched was good, but there's sometimes where like he built some things up in his mind too much and does it at like
falls a little short. In execution.
Yeah, and then work rate. I wonder what you're gonna do.
Well, it's kind of hard because it's it's not like I'm looking at Shawn Michaels who got the 9.5 he deserved.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't. Mick Foley doesn't have a 45-minute match on Raw with John Cena.
Right, and like he's not like I don't want to use it against him, but just his style. He's not like a wrestler.
Right.
He's more just like a performer and a risk taker, and so say 9.
Okay.
What do you think?
I was actually going to go 8.5.
That's what I was going to do too. Change mine to 8.5.
It still has him as your second best in ring, or your second lowest. The Rock is still your low. No, I guess the Rock. I was the lowest on the Rock.
Yeah.
8.
You got that early stuff. Yeah. Equal sign.
Equal sign. So.
Enter. Yep.
I think it'll be the same, right?
Figure that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
36.5. So he's tied with my ranking for The Rock.
The highest?
Steve Austin's the
highest. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I liked the WCW stuff better. I was more jazzed about it. I don't know. I have to kind of think about it. But I remember when we did these rankings for WCW for Mick Foley, I was like very...
Yeah, let me see. Let me see if I can. Yeah. I'm sure I could pull it up. Let's see. GWCW.
So you got 36.5. I think I got him like a really high rating.
34.5.
Oh, okay.
34. I mean, it's still... He is the second highest guy. Like, if we took his combined average would be the second highest behind just Ric Flair.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
For WCW. Yeah, okay. So I guess I got him slightly higher.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, he had good stuff in WCW, but his WWF stuff, like he might, towards the end, lose some athleticism, but he makes up for it in just character work.
Gruesomeness.
Yeah, the sheer
inventiveness, shock
audacity
value
of what he's doing.
Right. No, good stuff though.
Yep. So with that, we'll continue on next month with our Olympic gold medalist,
Kurt Angle.
Yep.
Simone Biles.
Yes, Simone Biles and Michael Phelps will stop by. Surprised he never showed up as a guest host of Raw or something.
They ever have Olympians? Oh, it's NBC, right? Or NBC affiliated?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, it's like
they were always under the same corporate teat.
Right, but they never had a crossover, like Bob Costas show up. Bob Costas.
Oh, Bob Costas had a thing with Vince McMahon.
Did he?
Where in 2001 they were talking about when they have Trish Stratus nowadays it would not be a great angle. It's not on the network.
Oh,
where he forces her to strip and bark like a dog.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah. So
Bob Costas does?
No, Vince McMahon does.
Okay.
And Bob Costas was asking him about this.
Oh.
And the embryo had already kind of turned sour because it's also about the XFL.
Oh.
The XFL was becoming clear that it was going to be a one-season wonder, so it was already kind of testy. And like Vince McMahon gets up and is like, "Don't you tell me what you gotta say." It's pretty heated.
Oh, okay. We're not gonna see him on anywhere.
No, I mean I don't know how late the Real Sports Archives goes on HBO Max. Maybe AEW will get the rights to that and air it.
There you go. All right. Well, until then, we'll have to just be content with Kurt Angle.
Yep.
As our Olympian.
As our lone Olympian symbol. Yep. All right. That concludes Mick Foley. Have a nice day.